the meeting back to order. And so we're considering the gel block door bids. We had 3 bids submitted. One didn't comply with the bid law, so we considered Willow Products Company with a bid of $95,207 and U.S. Security Systems with a bid of $97,030. So the low bidder is Willow Products Company. We would entertain a motion to award the bid to the lowest bidder, lowest responsible compliant bidder, Willow Products, unless you choose to do something different. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Someone like to make a second?
I'll second it,
Okay.
because I know it needs it bad,
It
but
does need it, doesn't it? All right.
it was,
Do we know what time, what their delivery time frame is? Was that spec?
It's within 140 days. Rachel, do you remember that right? 140 days for Willow? Somewhere around.
Okay, so 90 to 120 days. Okay, 3 to 4 months. All right. We have a motion second. If there are no other questions, we'll vote. All in favor of awarding as recommended and moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, thank you.
And we did say at that meeting we was gonna pay that out of capital improvements, right? Is that what we said then?
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes, sir.
It says jail door, is that just one door?
No.
Sale.
No.
I was just looking at the thing that said jail block door,
Doors.
I think that's gonna be awfully expensive.
Yeah, it's
I
all.
just went over that up here too.
We talked about
Okay.
making sure.
In the wrong business.
Is that,
Yeah.
All right, the next item on the agenda is discuss the arena. Karen, what you got?
Okay. We have a contract in place for the rental of our arena. However, we did not have a provision in it for usage by people for practice. And so there's a difference in the usage of the building, because if you have an event, you've got concession stand, you've got activity, you've got a lot bigger mess in the bathrooms, you've got PA system, you used a lot of different things. A lot of people would like to get in there on these rainy days when they can't go to these outside of arenas and maybe get together and practice inside our arena. And so I'd like to actually have a reduced rate just for practice only, where it cannot be used for any kind of shows or anything else, just only practice at a reduced rate. And that may be just Monday through Wednesday, because a lot of our events start on Thursday, but just have it so it's available during the week at a reduced rate for usage.
And you would just manage the calendar and make sure people are getting a fair share, fair opportunity, and
Right. Our current weekly rental rate is $400, and that's just a little steep for people to use when they don't have anything else being used, but just wanting to use the lights in the dirt.
She really needs the discretion to adjust it as necessary, because it's really something you gotta watch and see what the demand is, what your overhead is it gonna be abused, and then maybe implement something in that contract, or maybe put some sort of provision in there that those practice day rates can be adjusted as necessary, or maybe adjusted, that type of thing. But it would be helpful, because it's gonna rain the week you have an event, and not only is it already really expensive to go somewhere, but then you're pooling together trying to rent an arena, and then you gotta find somebody to bring you some stock, and then after you paid $100 for your turn, it may be 11 o'clock at night before you get home. So it would be nice to have smaller groups and be able to rent it. That outdoor will rent a lot, for sure, if you did $100, because then you don't have to pool so many people together to rent it. And the indoor, what were you thinking?
I was thinking around 250. Of course, that would not include dragging. It would just be, the dragging that would be done before they arrive and no more during the practice time. And it's just so that they could use that indoor facility. Now, like she said, if someone's bringing stock, someone's gonna have to, they'll have to ante up and help each other pay for the stock, because obviously someone will have to bring those in. So I understand that would be an outside of us cost that would be incurred by some of them. If they're running barrels, obviously you just put the barrel up and run, but it's different when you have different kind of events.
Usually there's very little mess, because you don't go anywhere. You're in the arena and then you go home, so it'll either work or it won't. but it's needed bad.
So and we wanna see the facility used, obviously this is a way to expand the use of it. Right now with this established rates, there is no flexibility to do this, not really. So Karen's asking us to provide that flexibility to her to rent them at these lower rates. What I can foresee that I think we wanna keep from happening is somebody say, okay, I'll take that outdoor pen for $100, I'll take it every Monday. And so somebody starts developing a regular and ongoing use of the arena to support whatever their activity is. I just think you need some you need to be able to manage that so that all of the community can come in. And I don't know, we'll just have to deal with that, I guess, when it arises. But, is there a motion to
We need to have-
establish the rates
About
as requested?
cleanup too, make sure that we had to go in and clean up and straighten up their mess, they don't get it.
Right.
Is there a deposit?
No.
That's what we talked about.
Right now, we do not.
Think there's a need
Could
for
we
it? I mean,
could we not do that? Look, I know going in it as much as I've been in it here lately, you know, most people seem to try to take care
Yes.
of that arena. We have very little problem with that. But then I know too that we have had the direct opposite of that,
Right,
where it would take 2 men a day to clean up behind what's happened there.
right,
I mean, I don't think a refundable deposit is out of the question to ask somebody to do,
right.
just to cover, like you said,
That or-
2 men going in there.
You know, either way, if we do a trial and they leave a mess, we can not grant to them, or we see a need to start charging.
Well, that's gonna be a small pond, cause that's gonna be local folks that are gonna wanna use it the most, and it won't take you long to figure out which
That's why I
ones you
said-
need to worry about. And that's gonna be I don't think you're gonna have a huge issue with that.
Yeah, I don't foresee it either, but
It seems like it's the same group too. If you've got a certain group, you've got the same cowboys that come back each time, no matter if one person's renting or the other, it's the same groups that come out and practice. Like I say, it's usually, you know, just there's a certain crowd that does team roping, there's a certain crowd that does barrel.
Even
Right.
if you just said, we'll do the outside arena, $150, but 50 of us a cleanup deposit, if we have to clean up it, that you get refunded if we don't have to
right.
take up and
That'll-
on your
that'll s-
side, you say, if it's a $250 plus a $50 deposit for any cleanup that we may have to do, but this $50 could be refundable.
It'll sting in the wallet more than just saying, well, you can't come back.
Yeah, but who's gonna oversee all that? That's the problem you have when you start doing all those deposits, is somebody's got to keep up with all that. So, not that it may be necessary, but it may wanna give her the discretion to decide whether that is needed or not. I mean, it's trial and error. It's either gonna work or it won't, but it sits there empty and somebody needs to be using it.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
I recommend reducing rentals so that people can actually use it during the week for
So
practice.
your recommendation is $100 for the outdoor pen, $250 for the indoor pen. Another thing I would make note of is that you also don't want to look up and realize that somebody is using it. So it's a barrel racing, but it's our barrel racing club, and we're inviting others to come in. It's really not a practice, it's an event, and so we're making money off the event. This is really for the purpose of
Practice
folks
only.
practicing, young kids, old kids, whatever, depending on the situation, but not so somebody can get a low ball price to hold an event per se. All right, so the recommendation is $100 and $250, and if you
Well,
add,
the recommendation is not to lock her in on a price, to allow her to use it or allow her to determine.
well, I think part of the concern though is that we put a price to it and that covers her, so she doesn't have that flexibility and have to make a decision of, well, John over there, well, I'm gonna let him have it for $100 and the next guy for $200, and then what am I gonna do when they find out? How do we get around that? On Tuesday night, it's
Well,
probably
I
worth
do.
$250 no matter what.
What it is, you have to trust that she's going to, use her discretion to adjust it as necessary if needed, meaning that those are her ballpark numbers. But if it needs to be lowered or raised a little bit and her figure this out.
I'm
what the-
fine with this, just going this way for now. I think that we can start that way, and then if it becomes a problem, we'll come back and do it different. If it'll get us the practice time that people need, I'm willing to work with whatever to see if it'll work that way.
So is there a motion to do whatever you've heard. You heard the
Yeah.
request to leave discretion and the thought of locking it in so that there's cover and we don't get into confusion of, well, you gave me $250 to me for 200 and what makes Greg special compared to Michael, you know? And you also have the thought of the,
That's not what I meant. I didn't mean give her discretion to determine person by person what the amount was. I meant if
the
it.
type of event.
Yeah, I meant if this doesn't work and gets crazy and she may
We're
wanna
gonna bring it
up the
back.
price at one. I don't mean that she gets to
Okay.
pick person per person.
All right.
It needs to be adjused, cause
I
this
think-
is new, so.
I think we'll bring it back to the commission for a adjustment and instead of leaving that on Karen. I think that'd be the best, so. But we can do different. What are your wishes? Anybody wanna make a motion?
I would make a motion that, under Karen's request, of what, the 2 and 100?
250 and 100, I think is what
250
she said.
and
Okay.
Second.
Motion second. Now, any other discussion on questions, comments, thoughts? All right, and we certainly think that this will give us more use of it, and that's a key. All right, we have a motion second. If there's nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Second part of that,
Yeah.
I've been approached by a local group that has a, fun day. They usually go out and practice at the Shelley Arena, but they would like to have a dedicated day for the, kids to come out and ride and have a fun day. And, they would like to do that in the outdoor open arena, but we usually do not rent it specifically if someone wants to have it just for them, their group. We don't usually sanction that part off. It's a public arena, we usually don't let them reserve it. They're asking for consideration for us to allow them to do that. A lot of the Barrel Girls prefer the outdoor open arena because it does not have the asphalt underneath it. They just like riding on that arena better. So, I've been approached a few times over the last year, but this last group is, Miss Susan Musgrave and her, Stephanie, what's the name of their group?
It was Equine Association, and they just changed it to something different, and it was in Alt for probably since the 80s. It's a really good organization. That's where you learn how to ride, and it's a lot of fun to go to. They usually just do barrels poles, they have an arena race, and they do several things. They give out, you know, how you see the horse shows that have the big ribbons, they give the ribbons out, and they have the and they're timed events, and it has it all on the back, and it's a big deal for the small kids, and it usually has a really big turnout too. And we were talking about that yesterday, whether or not could we use that public arena, and I don't know the history behind it, but the only thing I could think of is if we had federal funds that would have built it, where it was earmarked as nothing but open to the public, and I don't think that's the case. I think that we can use it for stuff like that, and I don't think that's a huge inconvenience to people at all. I know Baker, they have one at the very top, and it's really a practice pen, and they'll hold events where they use all their arenas, and it's open to the public, but if it's closed for the day. And I think it's a really good thing to have out there, and it helps a lot of kids that they don't haul or they don't do much, and that's how you learn how to ride.
So what's the request?
The request is to allow it to be rented for a fee to be used by different groups as we do the other facility, as we do the outdoor covered pen and such.
And it's a 501c3, the people
Our-
that use it.
So it doesn't come under this. It's
No,
different than
it'd
what
be-
we just passed.
It would be different than that because there's no fee for people riding in the Shelley Arena currently. But if they want to use it exclusively,
for that day.
then they would need,
This is-
like, the covered arena, the outdoor covered arena is $200 a day rent. So even if it's the same fee as that, because some people just don't like the covered arena, the way the dirt's done, the asphalt underneath it and such.
But this would be like for a 1 day or possibly 2 day event, or,
Usually it's one day. Usually it's either gonna be a barrel racing group that wants to do a Friday night show or something, or a Saturday show. Or this fun day that would be kids that probably on a Saturday or Sunday. The only problem I'll have is whenever I have the entire facility rented, I could not let them book on those days because that's kind of included for warm up areas and such.
Right. Okay. So you're asking for, frame that for us so we know
Okay.
what we're voting on.
For us to allow it to be rented at a price of $200 a day.
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion and second. Is, everybody understand where she is on that? Okay. Again, it's, increasing usage, and I think that's good for the facility, also good for the community, so.
So that's where they can lock that in for that day.
All right. All right, there's a motion. If there's nothing else, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. What's part C on that one there, Karen? Or you didn't have a part C?
I don't
on
have
it?
a say in it.
Okay. Let's go on to.
But I can think of something.
No, let's go on to F, under the award bid for railroad tank cars. Commissioners, page 18 is the information. And we'll let Lynn tell us what we need to consider here.
That's the railroad tank car bid that we have in place, and, we only had the one bid from, the railroad yard, and, I just request that we accept this. This bid, though, is about 40, on average, about 41% above what we paid last year for them, so materials are going up, so.
Okay. So is there a motion to award the bid to the bidder?
I make that motion.
There's a motion, and did I hear a second? Yeah. All right. Anybody have a question for Lynn on that? I hope that's not indicative of all building materials.
Well, you heard the
41%.
sheriff talk about the food costs. I mean, it's, things are
Crazy.
definitely going up.
All right.
Um,
We have a motion and a second. If nothing else, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We still have
That carries
the
unanimous.
availability of them, getting them, that.
Well, you know, I got the one for the 107 job. I bought it like 3 or 4 months ago, and that's a good deal because we saved some money, instead of waiting till now to get it. So,
Speaking of that, have we? heard
getting
from
close. I just spoke to Mr. Lorenzo here about, that. Mark Murphy's in contact, spoke to him Thursday. I actually saw him Thursday, and, it's kind of in the timber company's hands, or their attorney's hands right now. It's dealing with the title opinion, basically what it is. Not getting into detail of a lot of stuff, but it's dealing with the LLC and it's just lawyer stuff. I can go over them, I can
No,
tell you what it is, but
fine.
anyway,
Mark,
but it's just
it's still delayed, and, as frustrating as that is, it's just where we are.
It is
I
just
know I
where we
talked to
are.
Mark last week myself,
Yeah.
and, you know, he's doing what he can.
But it's
his
in their,
office.
it's in their court, it's not in Mark's, so we're
Yeah.
waiting on them for some, information, so.
Okay, looks like the next item, Lynn, is probably yours. It's, you're asking for approval to solicit bids for local line base.
We did this, you know, about 2 meetings ago, for the purpose of 825B, and I like a waste, riprap deal, but I'm just gonna go and combine. This was coming up for renewal, and I'm just gonna combine all of it together, not, so we won't be lapping in our bids.
Good.
So, but this covers our number ones, number twos, our crush and run, materials from our local source.
Okay, is there a motion to, approve soliciting bids for line base?
Make a motion.
Second, all right. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Did they move that pit down? Have they,
Yeah, that's another thing. We're kind of delayed on materials because they're getting ready to move about 10 miles back toward Castleberry and a little bit more toward Evergreen from where they are now. So, and that roller crusher went down, so we're in a bind because I need to be working on some FEMA stuff right now. And availability of rock is pretty much none right now. So, but we're fixing, we gotta figure out something to get the ball rolling on our material.
All right. Any other reports while you're up there?
Other than just address, you know, I think there is a need to kind of address, especially in a neighborhood setting, for what their concerns were this morning. And we are going back. I wasn't gonna leave that like it is. I mean, I didn't speak about that, and I wish they were here to hear me say this, but there is need to go back and work on that.
So what were we trying to accomplish in that, Lynn? Is
Well,
it just
you know,
strictly a
they mentioned-
drainage issue?
Well, you know, they mentioned the roads have not been maintained over 28 years. Well, the pipes were, you could see about an inch of a 15-inch pipe. The ditches were totally sanded in most cases. Now, my operator did over gouge in one little area. The main concern, I think, Mr. Hawkins, I believe his name was. And that is, I'd be a little upset about that myself, and we are gonna remedy all that.
Okay.
So, but I think that we can just kind of give a heads up. I mean, it is kind of right away, but out of respect, like the gentleman was talking about earlier, that I do think we need to kind of address more of a, I don't know how we need to do that, where it's a Facebook post
We
or
need to
a
look at-
Facebook page.
Yeah, we
or-
do need to look at ways to communicate. We can't go to every landowner or property owner, but we do need to find ways to communicate. But it was an appropriate thing to do, just, the way it was approached.
Just the way it's approached, yeah.
And that has become their front yard, even though it's right away.
And we are
all
gonna address it.
controlled.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm waiting just temperatures to get a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
Seed needs germination temps above 60 degrees, ground temp to be more than 60 degrees to kind of start growing, so.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was more or less waiting on now,
All right.
so.
What else?
We're gonna till it, regrade it, topsoil it, and we're gonna get it nice again for those
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah, we had a rain event here, what, a month ago?
Yeah, we've had
6
some,
inches or better.
Yeah.
And we had very minimal damage.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know there's issues where it does affect people's yards and stuff. But in light of everything, the purpose of, doing what Lynn and them have done, kept us from having the cost that we would have if not they had done these precautions ahead of time, being proactive on stuff. And so I can only say that, normally if we had a 6 or 10 inch rain, we'd have some culverts out. I mean, I went in places that we'd had blowouts and nothing. The water was up, then it went right down, it went away, it drained off. So, I mean, yeah, there's always an argument of both, I understand these people, I understand what they're saying, but then they need people to understand too, that you have to do certain things sometimes that ain't, pleasing to everybody, but it's for the general well-being of the county,
Yeah. That's well put. What else?
That's all.
All right. Thank you, Lee. I mentioned two other items I'd like to bring to the table this morning, and I communicated with the commissioners so they'd be aware of them. One is an economic development prospect that we have. Rick's here to answer questions if you have any. We need to be discreet in discussing it, but it's related to the DynCorp hangar, if you will, at the airport. And Rick's in a position that he needs to submit a proposal to them for space usage and the rental rate over a long-term lease, if we can attract them here. These folks made a visit a couple of weeks ago, had an overnight stay and a tour through the facility. They have a local connection to the county, so they're the real deal. They're in business long-term in the industry, a helicopter-related industry. So it's a good prospect. Commissioners, you saw the proposal that Rick suggested that he would like to submit, and he just needs approval from us to move forward with that, along with the City of Andalusia, City of Opp, and the Airport Authority. And I think I'm right in saying the others have signed, given their yes thus far. So do you have any questions? You all received that email. Do you have any questions for Rick specifically? Or is there a motion to give our approval on moving forward with the proposal?
And there's some businesses like this in Crestview, like Crestview Aerospace, and where they take the fuselage of a antiquated, so to speak, helicopter, and they rebuild it to make it a new type helicopter. Is that something like what they're doing here?
This group is not tied into government contracts. That's what makes it a little more attractive. We've had, like Kenneth was saying, we've had somebody that's looking for government contracts, doesn't get them, moves out, or has a government contract, loses them after 3 years and moves out. The other hangar up there is not a government contract, and those folks with the C-130 work are doing a great job. But these folks are buying helicopters they're gonna have the helicopters refurbished here, by their people, and then they're going to, send them out all over the world, literally, for, fire suppression, people coming in and out of hot spots. They do, spraying, crop spraying, they do, weed eradication, whatever that word is. So it's a, they're not tied into a government contract, and that's what makes them attractive. What also hurts though is then they can't build a big figure into, for rent, for the government to reimburse them. So we've got to, to work with them on the rent. They're not gonna have a whole lot of folks, but what we hope it leads to is just what you're talking about. They're gonna be bringing in other people. They're just not gonna maintain their fleet. They're gonna be maintaining other people's fleet, that, Kenneth, we talked about earlier. And they'll be bringing in helicopters from, rescue helicopters, that type thing, and be a, certified MRO, maintenance, repair, overhaul, for this area. And we think it'll lead to that. These folks have been in the business a long time. They're very successful at it. They're very conservative. And I think it's a good group to partner with.
It's a good fit here. We have a lot of folks that would love the opportunity for employment, and they're not talking about a lot of jobs. If they crank up, we'll save that for a later day. But
How long are they looking at the lease agreement being for, Rick?
We're talking about giving them a, 5-year lease with an option after that. So they make, they wanted a long-term lease. They're bringing in a lot of stuff, and his last words is, "I don't want to move this again. I want to move it one time."
Are they relocating to here, or is it a addition?
This will be their North American, I believe, actually the Northern Hemisphere,
Where are they coming from?
headquarters.
Where are they coming from?
They're headquartered in Australia.
Okay, overseas.
Yeah. So they're buying equipment from an American group to bring it here because he needs helicopters now, and he's gonna buy those. He's already bought one. It's going to Greece. And, but what he needs is a place to buy all of their helicopters, buy all of their parts, buy other parts from other helicopter operators in the country, and they're gonna be based out of here. It's gonna give if it works out as planned, it's gonna give our folks, locally an opportunity they've never had. He mentioned the fact, he said, we could have some kids from Covington County go to Greece and work with our helicopters in Greece. And he said, stay at a nice resort, work, and make $500 to $700 a day. I know it, that's what I gotta go start working on helicopters.
Was that just for kids only, or?
Yeah, I know, and he's also got the opportunity, he said, and then if they come back, he said if they want to, so they can come to our facility in Australia, or one of our other facilities down there. So it's gonna open up opportunities for our kids. I haven't heard of that type of opportunity anywhere. So I think it's a good project. Hopefully they're gonna be in for the long term. The fact that they're not tied into a government contract helps.
it's a no-risk project for us. The downside is that it's a little lower level of rent than we've typically experienced, but not significantly, but enough to entice them, to help them make the decision to come here. Otherwise, they're gonna have to be looking at other places. Right now, we're kind of number one on their radar, and I think we can lock this in.
Very much so. They've looked at other locations though, and it is not really for their names. They don't want their names because they're looking at other facilities, and they're also looking for other helicopters. So they don't want their name released, which is the norm for a lot of these projects. But it's you know, I think they're a good partner. They've been in business a long time. People that we've talked to know them. So I think it'll be a good opportunity, and it's a good opportunity for growth out there, and maybe some stability out there where we won't be changing signs every 2 or 3 years.
Do we know what they're expecting? I mean, or what are we expecting out of them as well? Like building maintenance, and what would they
Our
acquire, what
standard,
would they
yeah,
be expecting out of us? What do we need to know about that?
our standard lease is, you know, they provide all the maintenance. That's one of the keys that takes it all off the airport. The utility bill, takes that off the airport. They're paying that, you know, not a lot going on, but they're still maintaining it. So the maintenance, the insurance, utilities will all be taken off, and they'll be paying for that. There may be some, work that we need to do. The helicopters that they're talking about bringing in here are 50-foot long. I mean, these are a lot bigger than the ones that we've had over there. And in order to get them in a paint booth that we have there, they'd have to swing them around so hard, and so tightly that they wouldn't be able to do anything in the back hangar. So we may end up cutting a door so they can just pull them right straight in from the tarmac over there. So that'll be a little cost, but we haven't determined with them who's gonna do that. But that would be the only cost. I mean, you walk into that facility and it's ready to go. They can start working tomorrow. Of course, I told Greg, I said, as soon as we rent it, we'll have 50 people coming in and wanna rent it. That's the way it works out. But we could have nobody wanting to come in and rent it for the next 10 years. And I think
We've been open, what, 7, 8 months?
Yes, and we've pushed hard for it. We've developed a marketing program. We've got a virtual building tour. We've been to Heli Expo, which is the big helicopter thing. Had some people interested in it, but none of them have followed up. This has come about because of a local contact that Greg mentioned. I mean, he's tired of working in Oregon.
So so you mentioned that there'd be a reduction of expenses, for the airport, which is utilities, maintenance, and insurance. Then there will be the addition of fuel sales because the aircraft's coming in and out that the airport would benefit from. And we'd have somebody in it, if they accept our proposal, we'd have somebody paying a lease immediately and moving in very short order, as opposed to sitting there hoping for the next guy to come along. So to me, we've discussed back and forth about what the rent ought to be and whether there's any prospect for somebody else, and there is always a prospect, but there's nothing that's firm or in the wings waiting to jump in.
We don't have
So
any.
we don't know where we would go.
Yeah, we don't
know
have
where
any
we'd be.
prospects.
This is a tenant that I think does show a lot of promise for us, a lot of promise, so.
Yeah, I tell the people, y'all probably tired of hearing me, but I tell the people, you know, the old Winn-Dixie and was owned by people in California. And we got a proposal 10 years ago. And I told the folks, I said, look, you know, this is a good proposal. This is not, you know, Birmingham or Huntsville or Atlanta or California. I said, that property could sit here for 10 more years and you're not gonna get a better offer than this. Well, that's just not enough. Just now, that's been 10 years, and just now it was bought by somebody. They paid them less than they were offered 10 years ago. And now there's, some development going on there because the person got it at a reasonable price. But the point is, I mean, we could be waiting 10 years for that client to come in that's gonna take it and do something with it.
Isn't this the last facility at the airport that's vacant right now? The large hangars are occupied, the Shanklin hangar is occupied. This one has been, and I think until October, I believe, is when they closed out paying rent under the, so
yeah.
it would keep the
We've got,
buildings occupied.
we maintained half of the Shanklin, the nose dock hangars. We maintained half of that. Half has gone to the Medical Air Rescue, who was another local contact that got that in here. So, you know, economic development is hard work, but it's also
Relationship.
connections, and to some extent luck. You know, that's how we got Shaw was luck. With one person knowing one person and saying, hey, it'd be good to come down to here to look, and they did. So, but, you know, our local contacts and people keeping us in contact and keeping us in mind is what, that led to the Mark coming in, and hopefully it's gonna lead to this group coming in.
Okay.
We appreciate
Any
your
other-
support. There's no, right now, like I said, the only thing we're looking at is maybe putting in that door. Jed and I are looking at seeing how we're gonna do that. Hopefully, we're gonna get them to do it or contribute toward it, so that we're not asking at this time for any funding, from the county or from Andalusia or Ott.
Okay. If no other questions, is there a motion to vote yes on making a proposal to these prospects so we can get the ball rolling and hopefully get an answer?
I'm a firm believer in a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Because right now, we're getting nothing out of it, so.
You know, and look, opposite of that, I sometimes think we can get the horse ahead of the cart too. But, you know, this one's been sitting vacant how long now?
Almost 8 months.
8 months, but you know, some of them have sat over there vacant for longer than that. Those
Longer
Twin
than that.
Hangers have sat there for a while.
I
Same
make a
facility
motion
set for
that we
over a
go
year.
in the
Yeah.
direction of
All right, motion that we
Second.
move forward. There's a second. Any other questions for Rick while he's at the podium? You may want to make a comment about him. This is a good time to get him while he's there. No, not on record. Okay. We'll hold on that. If there's nothing else, let's vote. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. All right.
Great.
Rick, thank you.
That will go a long way for us to be able to say that we are all unanimous in our support for it, and I appreciate that.
Which will help sell it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So now he'll make a proposal and give us a report back as soon as you can, Rick, on that.
We do it.
The other item that I'd like to bring to the table, I mentioned it in the same email that I circulated earlier, is on the ops splash pad. My understanding is this: there was some concern about, well, maybe the council had not even approved that, but I have obtained a copy of the minutes. They did approve it. It's a larger project that they're looking at. Splash pad is one part of a larger park development. I know that they're pursuing grants from foundations, and you were made aware of that in the email. They're asking that we consider a contribution, a commitment to them and, towards this, so that they can get all their ducks in a row, get their funding identified, and then they can move forward. We could offer a commitment payable, you know, first installment October 1 out of the new budget year or whatever. They just need to have some feel for what they're working with so they can move forward. Are we ready to move on that at this time? Kenneth, I know I talked to you, it's in your district. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I've got mixed on that a little bit, but,
I understand.
you know, I'm, you know, to a degree, I'm for it, you know, I mean, I see some development there and something for the people, and we said, you know, a lot of times something like that, it's for small kids, handicapped kids or something that, special needs, and it might be something that would be good for people like that. You know, it's not gonna attract everyday people as much as it would somebody like that to me. And it would give them an opportunity to go somewhere and have a facility, so. You know, as far as the amount, you know, I don't really know. I know what we done for Andalusia, but I know it took us a while to get into that agreement with Andalusia because we had to make sure what monies we had and what we could appropriate and give.
Right.
So, I really don't know what setting an amount would be, you know.
Do we have anything exactly on what their splash pad will cost?
250 for the, I think that was the entire, was that the entire development of
No,
the
that
park?
was just for the splash
That was
pad.
the splash pad, okay, all right.
230 to 250 or somewhere along there.
Cause I know, if you look at Andalusia's, what was their total cost? About $350, is that correct?
I don't remember, Michael.
But I, you know, as a commissioner that has some hook with the art people and with the Andalusia people and everything else, I feel obligated to do what we do for one to do for another town. And I would love to see us looking to do the same thing for Alton that we did for Andalusia.
Cause I was trying to remember back exactly what the one Andalusia cost. And for some reason, I don't know why 350 popped into my head. I really don't. But
That
then if
figure
you look, county
changed.
committed 50 to that, that's a seventh of it.
I think that figure
And, you
changed
know,
3 or 4 times.
Did it?
Probably
And
go
then,
everything
you know,
only went up.
figure the same amount, you know, basically kinda like percentage wise that we give to Andalusia compared to what theirs is, and you know, do the same with them. That way you kinda, you stay in the same.
That was a request at Andalusia Asphalt, League. They
was.
requested that, and so we
Right.
met their request.
Yeah. So the thought is, one comment was that we do the same, so that would be 50,000. Another comment is that we do the same percentage, which with a lower investment, it would be a little less than 50. It'd be 42,000 or something, I think Michael's referring to.
Yeah.
Just
You know, we had
whatever your thoughts are.
when they done the pool, we had more or less of a gentleman's agreement. We done a 3-year pay of 10,000.
Yeah.
And that was more, it wasn't really in a contract or anything. We just agreed on it, and so we honored that. Even some of the commissioners would come in different, you know. We still honored the same commitment, you know, because there was nothing really there other than the fact we honored it, so. But like I said, that was Andalusia's request, and we hadn't really got a request from all, other than whatever you'll give us, you know, and so, you know, that's what Mike's kind of leading to, you know.
What about, just a thought, somewhere below the 50, based on your percentage, applying a percentage, so something like 15,000 a year for 3 years would get you awfully close, but it's up to y'all. I mean, we just need to delay movement on it.
And I'm not opposed to that, with a cap on it at what we done at Andalusia. You know,
That was 50.
yeah,
That says, I think, Karen pulled up, it's 210,000 for the actual, best I can read without my glasses. That's for their splash pad, yeah, I'm sorry. But then if you do like I said, I'd love to see what Andalusia was and what percentage of, you know, after the 50,000 was the amount of their money, and then take that percentage.
That's 60, that'd be 60% if their estimates were the same, were on point. I think it's 60%, which would be 30,000.
Cause I figured it the other day, and like I said, I
Probably
don't know,
a
that
little
popped in my mind, it was 350,000, and like I
Yeah.
said, I could be way off, I don't remember the whole.
Yeah.
I'm sure the mayor can bump it up.
Yeah, bump up the estimate. Yeah, yeah. Tony, what do you think?
you know, again, and I understand where Commissioner Smith's coming from with that, Kenneth as well. I think we need to, I feel we need to do for one community what we do for another one. And if it's a percentage basis we go on, then I have no issue with that, but I would like to see a cap put on it at the 50,000. Other than that, as far as myself, I have no opposition in going to the 50,000.
Okay. Anybody else wanna
So it
pitch into the conversation?
300,000.
Excuse me.
Andalusia was 300.
Three.
Here's the 300,000.
That's what I was trying to find.
They had secured 300,000 in
And
funding.
then come and ask for 50, the way that reads, right?
It said that he had secured 300,000 in funding towards the splash pad, but he asked us to fund 50,000 to be paid over 5 years.
So you say 350 is working with that number, that's a seventh of it.
I say we ought to do the percentage, like Michael said, since the op has not requested a certain amount, I think that would be fair.
Because I think the thing that Karen showed was 210,000 roughly for it.
Would it be,
I'm gonna speak for the mayor.
Mhm.
I know the mayor's gonna be disappointed if y'all didn't do for, like you did for Andrew.
You're talking about dollar for dollar, not percentage, based on the project. We
I
understand.
think that's what she expected, and, she didn't know she had to come back to me, she couldn't come to me.
Well, she sent a letter that we distributed,
So,
so.
I think she'll be disappointed now, y'all do whatever y'all wanna do, but she'll be disappointed.
yeah, I mean, like that day, she just said, whatever y'all can do. And she said, anything y'all can do, we'd appreciate it, so,
Well, I've clarified what you meant.
yeah, you had to put up with it more than we do.
I know she's was looking for what y'all did for Andrew.
All right. We'll entertain a motion, if somebody'd like to make one, let's see where we end up here.
Alright, as far as our finance, let me go back over this right quick. If we do this, we see what we can do, it would be after the budget, but we would make a proposal towards something. And would it be better to do increments of smaller amounts than it would like do the 15, or do a 10 versus a 15?
It's whichever way y'all choose. It will take away from the grand scheme of your general fund budget. Obviously, the more you have obligated, that's less that you have.
That's what I'm saying, it would, we'd accomplish the same thing in 5 years that we done with Andalusia, and it would go with all, at a percent of whatever we wanna do, so like we said, we do 45 or whatever.
I think our budget's such that we can stand whatever, right now, we can stand whatever you choose to do,
Okay.
based on our current revenue and so forth. We'll put a motion on the table, Kenneth,
Yeah, I'll
District
make a
One.
It, we'll do the 45, that,
45 over 3 years, 15,000 a year, is that, or,
yeah, do that. Do 45 over 3 or 50 over
over 5?
5? Would you rather have the 45 in 3 years, or have the 50 in 5? I'll make that.
Okay.
How would that work? How do we need to do that?
Let her choose. Mayor choose.
Yeah.
Do it both ways.
So the motion is to award 45,000, 15,000 a year over 3 years, first payment in October, and then two additional payments, annual payments, or 50,000 over 5 years, first payment in October, and then 4 additional payments annually. That's the motion, and subject to the choice of the town, of the city of Opp, the mayor.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Any more questions or comments? It's unusual, isn't it, to have an iffy one, but I guess here we are. That works. All right, if there's nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. We'll let Karen communicate that as best she can. You go easy, you just don't pre-tell it, wait till, okay.
Just wear those shoes when you talk to me.
Probably watching.
We have a brief few moments for reports from staff. Anybody here have anything? Susan, you have anything from your department? Yes.
We sent out an email to invite you guys to our hurricane preparedness meeting. We're gonna have our exercise, the statewide exercise, May 10th, but we're just doing it between me and Frank and our EOC, getting things prepared.
Okay.
And then we're having the open meeting May 11th, that the whole entire county will be here and talk about our hurricane preparedness, and I would love for y'all to be here.
Is that in this room or over in the EOC? Okay, in the commission chambers.
I
All right.
sent the email, but
Yeah.
I'll send it again to remind y'all. close your
Okay.
time.
All right. Anyone else?
This was
Okay,
laid
Michael.
up here.
Yeah.
I know, I talked with, Thomas had actually contacted me the other day. It was about the scanners, because, and I thought the sheriff was gonna present it, but apparently he's just laid here, but I do know a little bit what it's about, when I
Okay.
talked to Thomas. Let me see how I can do that. The way it was told to me is that the warranty, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I've had a conversation with you about it, that we had agreed for the new scanner, or to upgrade the scanners that were messed up. The sheriff had explained that it was covered under the warranty.
That we were
Switch
gonna
replacement.
purchase, or the warranty?
The warranty would cover the
Which-
equipment that was messed
The
up.
replacement of it.
Well, apparently, it was not. So, Thomas was wanting to know, and that, and like I said, this was just kind of me and Thomas talking, he asked, was there any way they could move the money from one account to another, so I'd asked Karen, because they was wanting to pay for this, because it's an additional amount than we had approved, because it was supposed to be covered under warranty. And I guess they have miscellaneous funds, according to this, that they could take it out and pay for the parts. That's my understanding of it, but I thought the sheriff was gonna be here to,
The bill in question is $2,707,
Right.
right? So the request is that we move money from miscellaneous law enforcement supplies, account 217, to account 236, repairs, communication equipment. 2707, so it's reclassifying a budget line item. Is there money in 217 so far?
I've not pulled it today to see,
But-
because it changes daily.
Yeah, as far as we know there is. All right.
that's the best I can explain that.
Was that a motion?
Yes, if
Okay.
they're paying for it and don't come out of any of our,
Well,
we
it
already
could-
have money in their miscellaneous.
In the budget,
funds.
yeah, okay. So there's a motion to approve that change, that budget line item change by $2,707.
You know, we just bought a warranty.
Yeah.
And we still have machines.
And I think, I can't speak for everybody else, but I mean, one of the reasons that I voted on the warranty deal,
It's because,
because it would cover,
Covering this.
it would cover this.
And that was, I think, the sheriff explained to me that was just misunderstanding. His understanding was that it would be brought into that warranty cost.
cause I know Thomas
And-
is the one who had contacted me.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I ain't got a clue, I said, but from everybody's understanding that it would be.
Part of the
Thomas said,
warranty.
well, he said, I have miscellaneous money in my miscellaneous account, and I said, I don't know, I'll bring it before, I wouldn't say I'd bring it. I said, get it to the commission, and they did, they laid it up here for us apparently, but that is not what I meant, I thought, my intentions were for them to, tell
I
us.
got Rachel make y'all
Okay.
copies of these, just because I knew it was discussed, and I wanted y'all to have paperwork instead of not having paperwork in case
Because
they
I
didn't
thought
like
they
it.
were gonna bring it up here and tell us what was going on, but
If the warranty phone calls will stop, I second it.
There's a motion, and second. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carried. We'll reallocate those funds. Commissioners, anything else that you wanna bring?
Chuck?
Okay, we'll come to him. Chuck Patterson, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank y'all for.
Sorry we missed you earlier.
176 parcels of land and about $60,000. We're going door to door, putting notices on property, we can't attach it to a pine tree, but we're trying to find it.
Okay,
We'll have a sale May 18th at 10 o'clock on the courthouse steps, and I hope there's none to sale.
hopefully there'll be none to sell. All right, we appreciate your office making the effort you do.
is that a lower amount than normal, Chuck? That seems like a pretty low amount to me.
Yeah, it is. Just, there's so much sickness and death and people living out of state that are not tied to their parents' home here or uncle, aunt, it's just hard to find.
Anything else, commissioners?
Well, I did want to commend, we had I think had a good event this weekend at the rodeo, at the arena. Went well, had a big attendance, and I think everybody enjoyed it. The air there was just, people was happy. I mean, they were just walking around smiling and, and even the clown said that he never had somebody that stayed, attentive the whole event.
Yeah.
But it went from one end, all the way, and he said he kept them, everybody stayed active,
That's good.
I think if you missed it, you missed a real treat. I enjoyed it. I went and I enjoyed it.
Very good. I missed it. I was had the privilege of being on an honor flight Saturday with, a number of veterans and other volunteers from around our county and some of the veterans from outside of the county, but we had a trip to Washington. It was a beautiful day. It was a long, hard day. We left about 2:30 that morning, got back about 11 that night. So it was a long day, but it was a very worthwhile and
Very
rewarding
worthwhile.
time. Very
Very
rewarding. Anyone else? If not, if all minds are clear, we stand adjourned.